Welcome students and learners to the lecture 4 regarding the Usman Dan Fodio and his movement. I am Dr. Imtiaz Al-Huda, Assistant Professor in the Department of Islamic Studies, Aligarh Muslim University. Let's have a glance over a map. In this aspect, we will learn about the foundation of the Sokoto Caliphate or the movement. So first of all, we should know where the Sokoto is. Sokoto is here. This is a place where the Sokoto is. And at this particular place, Usman Dan Fodio laid foundation to his caliphate. The first one regarding the establishment and the structure of his caliphate. The very important thing. This caliphate was founded in 1804 in Christian era by Usman Dan Fodio himself. Later onward, we will also learn about what were the reasons and circumstances that led him to establish a caliphate. First of all, about the establishment and the structure. Basically, this particular caliphate emerged just due to the jihad that he has conducted in his region with the aim, with the purpose of reforming Islam in the region. He waged jihad against the rulers of his region, the rulers of the Hausa, rulers of the Fulani, and there was some more region also. He waged jihad. And this resulted into the formation of a caliphate system. And he declared himself as Amirul Mu'mineen, the Khalifa of the region. And it was headquartered at Sokoto. He migrated from the region, the Gobir, and he shifted to Sokoto. And at Sokoto, he laid foundation to his movement. As that is evident from the map, that this region, or this Sokoto, lies in the modern Nigeria. The name Nigeria, it is evident from the map, has been drawn from the river Niger. The land across the river Niger came to be known as Nigeria. It was renamed later onward. So in the modern Nigeria, a Sokoto, a place is still present where Usman Dan Fodio has laid foundation to the caliphate. Basically, this caliphate was of the theocratic nature. It combined the religion and political authority. It means it discusses about the implementation and of the Sharia and has a political head as a Khalifa, who is also the religious supreme religious leader of the caliphate. So this was a theocratic state based on the theology and the politics. Combination of the two. Dear learners, we find that Usman Dan Fodio himself declared as a caliph. So he was the first caliph to lead the community of his region, the region of the modern Nigeria. In Africa, he laid down the first caliphate in the modern times. Though in the past there were many, but In the modern times, he laid foundation to the caliphate in 1804 AD. When we further discuss about the structure, what we find that this caliphate was divided into provinces, and each provinces were governed by an amir. They were called as an amir, the provincial head or leader. And these amirs were responsible for the local administration and also for enforcing the Islamic law. They were responsible for that one. All the local administration, they had to clearly observe and administer. The Sokoto movement promoted education by establishing schools and libraries. It was a form of a structure of the Sokoto Caliph. It was their basic agenda that education should be promoted. Trade was also an important aspect of the Sokoto Caliphate because it was a means of revenue generation. If you remember, in my first lecture on the Sokoto, on the Usman dan Fodio, I talked about the Mansa Musa. I talked that the trade was an important aspect of gold, salt, and many things were traded from here. So trading was an important aspect. Trade flourished under his caliphate and it was connected to the various regions. If they want to trade in gold, the gold can be sold to the other places. In return, they can get a revenue, and that revenue can play an important role in the good functioning of his caliphate. It can also play an important role in giving the salaries to the people involved in administrative and military duties. Later onward, what we find that just with the beginning of the 20th century, Britishers established their colony in West Africa. That marked an end to the caliphate. Let's have a glance over the nature of governance and administration of the Sokoto Caliphate. As I have mentioned earlier, the governance was based on Sharia. Sharia was a guidelines on the basis of which all the thing has to be governed. The Caliph has divided the province, each led by Emir, as I have discussed. They were responsible for local administration. Furthermore, the Caliph has a council of scholars to advise on the religious as well as the legal affairs or matters. Because many times a caliph can't make a decision on his own. He needed a scholars to discuss. There were many issues that they can find out the way after a discussion. About the legal implications also. So he have a council of the advisors who advises for the better administration by the caliph. Usman dan Fodio has numerous advisors. Majority of them is either the teacher, either his disciple, either his counterpart, even his brother also. In the governance, we found that the taxation was important. They had also imposed taxation system, and majority of the taxation was the Islamic taxes, like the zakat, like the khums, like the ushr. These were, and even the war booty, mal ghanima also. These were kept in the revenue, the treasury. Taxes like the zakat were collected from each houses. It's not a great one, it's very simple. Very simple. Only 2.5%. The ushur on the land produce. And similarly, many more. The kharaj, the land tax also. So, taxation was an important aspect of funding the caliph's activities and services. Now, have a look over his military organization, how this Sokoto Caliphate has a military. The Caliphate has a strong military structure. It led by a caliph who was the supreme leader. All the decision of the caliph was binding on everyone to follow. The army was made up of various groups, including the cavalry and the infantry. Various groups. Soldiers were often recruited from the local communities. The infantry. In the infantry section, from the locals. There was a call, whosoever want to join for jihad, for the cause of Islam, to stabilize the Islam in the region, to implement the Islam in the region. So from the local Sokoto state, local Sokoto community, the people were inducted as a soldier. Many Fulani people have also migrated and settled in the region along with Usman and Fodio. They also became a part of the Sokoto military. The military was organized into units for better coordination, and each unit had a specific role, like defending or attacking. Every unit. A unit of spies were also there to bring information about any sort of threat on the caliphate, any sort of uprising within the caliphate, within the city, within the state. Training was an important for soldiers to improve their skills. A constant drilling, a training regarding the archery, regarding the sword fighting, even because it was a part of the modern days, even they learned to how to target by a rifle, by the latest ammunition, arms and ammunitions. So this was a sort of military organization. And Caliph used strategy to expand its territories, and it were his soldiers who execute the plan of the Caliph. The communication was key for planning military action. There was a series of levels by which the communication was sent from one unit to another unit. What the military action has to be taken up. The military played a crucial role in maintaining the power of the caliphate. Let's have a glance over the cultural contribution. It was about the promotion of the Islamic scholarship. By this, we can say during the caliphate, it was encouraged that the study of Islamic teaching is compulsory for all. It's compulsory for all. Whether in the school level, whether in the middle school level, whether in the high, even in the university level, the higher education, it was compulsory for everyone to study the Islamic teachings, to know more about Islam and its perspectives. The scholars were highly respected, who play an important role in the society, because it was the scholar who disseminate a quality of teaching in the society. As we have discussed, the schools were established to teach the student the Quran and the Hadith, so that every child should be aware about, should know the Quran and learn the Hadith. An environment was created in such schools that many of them had even memorized the Holy Quran also. They became the Hafiz, numerous Huffaz. Huffaz, a lot of people became Hafiz. The Huffaz were made. The Caliphate supported the writing of Islamic texts and books. Numerous writings. Even Usman dan Fodio has written many books. His brother, his son, his daughters, all of them. We will discuss later about their contribution also. And apart from that, there were many scholars who had contributed extensively, and they had produced the Islamic texts in the local language of the Africa, in the Arabic language also, so that the message of Islam should be diffused in all the people of the region. Many famous scholars emerged during this time. They shared their knowledge. The promotion of education helped in the spread of Islam across West. Nowadays, we find in West Africa, in the Nigeria, Islam is widely practiced. And they strictly follow Islam. What I said in the earlier lecture, Maliki fiqh plays an important role also. The Sokoto Caliphate organized debates and discussion to deepen the understanding at the regular intervals. Programs were held, debates were held regarding the different aspects of Islam and the implications on the society, on the good governance. Women were also encouraged to learn, although opportunities were limited for them, but even then they were encouraged. They do not travel a lot, but somehow in the local they can undertake the education. They can participate in the debates. On the matter of the women's issues, the women can also play an important role as an educator. They can teach the other women who are the less knowledgeable. During the Caliphate, the emphasis was on scholarship that further led to advancement in various fields. They promoted the development in the various aspects of scholarships, not only in Islam, on various other aspects also. The legacy of Islamic scholarship continues to influence even nowadays. Further, we can discuss about the challenges that had also resulted into a decline of the Sokoto Caliphate. There are many factors. The first one to discuss is the internal conflicts. There were numerous internal conflicts, the internal struggles. Because after the demise of Usman dan Fodio, though the power shifted between his brother and his son, the region was divided. But later onward, some more struggle has started. Within the provincial leaders, the emirs, they wanted their own power on the region. So this had led to the weakening of the power. The power was weakening gradually. The disagreement among the leaders also created division within the government. Many leaders disagreed with each other on the administrative policies. So it led to the creating so much trouble within the government. Up to the Usman dan Fodio, it was a very stabilized one. But after we found the gradually it was destabilized. Different groups emerged and they wanted to have their own control on the political issues. As I have just now mentioned, the emirs wanted their control. They even sidelined the order of the leader also, the supreme leader also, because they wanted their own welfare. Corruption among the officials also had started after the demise of the Usman dan Fodio, but the later caliph were unable to control such things. This resulted into also the decline. Economic problems started that caused the dissatisfaction among the peoples. There were religious differences sometimes caused conflict between the various factions. Now, as I have mentioned, Maliki Mazhab and Qadiriya Sufi was a very important aspect of the Sokoto movement. But later onward, in the 19th century, new influences came. And these influences was about to denounce the Sufism also. So the religious differences started that caused conflict between the various factions. Though the caliphate struggled to manage, but they can't do it effectively. The local leaders started fighting with each other. That has weakened the central authority. Now, gradually, we found a poor communication also. The communication between the central leadership and the provincial leadership. Somehow, miscommunication was also there. And miscommunication were not resolved also. So this also resulted into the decline. So all such sort of issues ultimately contributed to the formal decline of the Sokoto Caliphate. Another important aspect was the colonial encroachment. What we find that in the late 19th century in the West Africa, Britishers had just let their foothold. And it was the region they considered as the wealthiest region. Basically, the colonizers, the colonial power wanted to drain Africa, the West Africa, from gold and salt, which were in abundance there. So what they had done, they gradually captured the region. And they found the Sokoto Caliphate as a threat for them. Now, the Sokoto Caliphate was based on the traditional system, and the Britishers were having the modernized thing. So, the traditional can't face the modern. For example, their military power was a traditional one, and on the other hand, the British military power was a very modernized, well-equipped one. They had the latest armed ammunition. So this also resulted into the decline. So in the late 19th, the Sokoto Caliph cannot face the emerging colonial power, the British colonial power. The British aim to control the trade route and the resources of the area. What I have said just now, they wanted to capture the gold mines, the salt mountains of West Africa. Though the Caliphate resisted the British military, but they lack in the strength because Britishers were much more powerful. Hence, we can say that the colonial rule changed the local governance and disrupted the traditional practices. The Britishers imposed the new laws and taxation on the people of the Caliphate. Thank you very much.